Hello there, and welcome. Today, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about group work. Whenever I used to say group work to my fellow teachers, they'd groan. Students groan about group work. But the truth is, group work is maybe the most effective and useful teaching technique for writing teachers and reading teachers you could ever possibly employ, because it takes where the students are tuned in to their social group and allows even non-readers and non-studiers an opportunity to share with others and to learn, even if they kind of sort of try to get out of reading the book. Even I, geek that I am, skipped reading assignments sometimes. During your teenage years, it's a really easy thing to say, you know what, I don't want to read what you want me to read. I want to read what I want to read. Or, I don't want to read. I want to go outside and play. I want to watch TV. I guess now students say, I want to play video games, or I want to do drugs. I don't know what students want. I never did. Even when I was among them, I was pretty out of the loop socially. So, I know that there are plenty of students that try to avoid the reading assignments, even though a lot of times the books they're being asked to read are actually wonderful books. Group work can help with that. Let's say that you're at the end of a unit, you've had the students been writing through something and they've turned in some big projects, and you really need a week away from them submitting more writing. You need a week to catch up on your writing grading, and you need them to be working at the same time. If you carefully arrange your coursework, you can allow a project to come in near the end of a reading assignment, like a novel, and you can design a week of group work that will allow them to study the book in a new and exciting way, and allow you a little breathing room to get your grading finished. It also, group work, can provide you an opportunity to take some of the hard grading chores off your shoulders and let the students shoulder some of that work themselves. So, I'm going to talk about group work for a couple of these episodes. I'm probably going to talk about it on Tuesdays, and it may take me 3 or 4 Tuesdays to talk about ways to make group work work. So, let's start at the very top. When you're arranging group work, you need to think about being really organized and having the plan ready to go beforehand, because there's always something that might come up that you need to address. So we'll start with designing the group activity. So let's say, I'm just going to use a book that I've used in the past, and we'll let that be our guide as we talk about group work. I taught juniors, and a lot of juniors read Huckleberry Finn. I know I've said I've taught freshmen and seniors. I've taught all levels of students. Excluding graduate students, I teach adult courses. I also have taught through college sophomores. So I've taught all levels, and group work can be used at any of those levels. I should say all levels, from freshman in high school up. Okay, actually I taught. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. I digress. Let's say we take the book Huckleberry Finn, and you design a group activity for the students to do around the book. You divide the group into 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 groups. You need to have jobs for each student to do. So, what I came up with was, let's make a poster about our experience of reading Huckleberry Finn. And on that poster, we're going to have certain elements of display. A section of the poster will be about at least 5 characters and no more than 10. A section of the poster will be about great lines or descriptions from the book, at least 5, no more than 10. A section of the poster will be about the context of the book, a background on the author or a background on the time the book came from. And a section of that poster will be about a summary of the book, a plot summary of the book. Then you'll need on the poster a legend that has the group's name and the names of the members and which jobs they did. Now, if you do that, what that means is each student should have a job on the poster. And you can add a job. If you have a bigger class, you can add jobs like a presentation. For example, you could say on Thursday, before we take the reading test, we're going to do presentations on these posters. We're going to take them out, we're going to hang them in the hall, or we're going to put them up in our room, and each group is going to have one person designated to present the poster and show how the elements were completed. Now you could even have an element on there of citations, in other words, a reference sheet. Maybe they should have references on the poster, and that way you can actually have them write MLA bibliographies. Imagine that. Now, obviously, the students who haven't read the book are going to have to go online and look up stuff and flip through the book. At least they're doing that. And one of the rules I made was they had to pick a leader who assigned the jobs. They could cooperate and talk about that. And the leader could only do one other job than be leader. If the leader did the legend, that was it. The leader couldn't do the line search. The leader couldn't do the character designs. The leader couldn't design the poster. The leader had to make sure everybody else was doing their job. This prevents students from automatically saying, oh, I've got Captain A over here. Captain A over here is going to do all the work on the poster, and I can just sit back and visit with my buddy Lazy here, or Big Bones, or Weirdo. That's not how it has to work. The jobs have to be assigned. And you say, well, yes, they can assign the jobs, but they won't necessarily do them. The leader will still end up doing them all. But I have a trick. I have a method for trying to reduce that possibility. And it's how the students are graded, because they are going to grade their group members. I use a 10-point scale. Only one group member. You can only give one of your fellow group members a 10. Only one. Just one 10. You can give only one bottom grade. In other words, if you give a 6, only one 6, and then all the other grades have to be in between. You could have a 5-member group and give a 10, 3 9s, and an 8. That would be acceptable, but not 2 10s. Then you have to tell what grade you think you deserve on that same little grade sheet. What grade did you think you earned? And here's the kicker. Every student in your group that you grade, you have to write a sentence about them beside the grade you give them. Now you might say, well, why? It's easy. Let's say the group goes well. The kids are going to want to write a sentence. Everything went great. They have nothing to tell you. But the kids that had a crappy time, and there was a group member that tried stabbing people with an X-Acto knife, that guy needs to be reported. So they're going to write their sentences. Well, if there's a kid sitting there writing sentences and the other kids don't write anything, they're all going to know, oh, that guy's ratting us out. But if every kid is sitting there writing out their sentences, then you can't tell if somebody's griping about you. Ha-ha! See? And most important of all, it starts them on the road to thinking about self-evaluation, of examination of what they've done. They might not do a very good job at it. They're young after all. But by doing this, by evaluating each other and responding, they can do well. Now, here's what happens. They bring up that grade sheet that they filled out. And what I do is I go through it, and as long as the grades fell along the pattern in the group, we went with that. So it's possible that there'd be a kid in the group that had a 10 just for his group work, even if the group didn't win the top score. And we'll get to that next week. But group work can actually take pressure off you if you're ready, if you're prepared, if you're organized, and you don't mind it being a little bit noisy in the room while they're working. Group work can be a big benefit to you as the teacher. So that's as far as I'm going to go today. I'm going to continue this discussion of group work next time so that you can get more of a sense of what I'm talking about. That's it for today. I hope you have a glorious rest of the day, and I hope you see me again soon. You gorgeous people.